Hey, what's up? Welcome. You are listening to TC the G Radio Season 2, Episode 9. I am TC the G, broadcasting directly from Tijuana, Baja California. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to have a great time. The topic of conversation for today's show spirituality. I chose this topic because I wanted to address some hypocritical actions that I have noticed in some of the mainstream media artists, if you want to call them artists, who claim to be people of God. So, more than anything, this really has to do with I always hear like like mainstream, music artists say like, "Oh, thank God," or thank, God for keeping me here, for putting me here. Like, we need to understand that people have different gods. God is not just, for example, my God. I believe in the Great Spirit, right? Some people can have their God. It could even be like Satan, like that's their God. So I believe sometimes we kind of like get confused or kind of feel like the celebrities are like on our side kind of thing because they believe in God. But we're not really too sure which God it is that they're serving. So we need to kind of keep our eyes open for that. And more than anything, I think their actions tell us who their God is, right? Like, for example, some people claim they're Christian or whatever. Well, you can't be Christian if you're doing like music that talks about shaking your booty and like sex all the time, pussy, money, weed. Like, that's not something of God. Like, we shouldn't be getting confused. Like, we shouldn't be getting confused as to what a child of God is. A person that really follows God will will be doing righteous things. And righteous things are things that nurture life, right? When you're talking about sex and butts and titties and dicks and all this shit, like you're just talking about things that are like, I mean, don't get me wrong, right? There's nothing wrong with sex. Like I've said it previously in my other shows. Like we all come from sex, right? Like sex is sacred. So when they make songs like these out of sex, it's kind of like they're not really seeing sex for the sacred act that it is. They're seeing it as some kind of like some kind of like well, how can I say that? Like they're looking at it like some kind of like recreational thing, right? Like it's not something recreational. It's not something that we should go out and be promiscuous about because there's diseases, people can get pregnant, and it's not just having sex, right? Like when you have sex with somebody, whether people want to believe it or not, you're interchanging energies with that person. Like it's more serious than what we think it is having sex with people. Like your energy and that person's energy are like dancing in a way. So if you're like having sex with all these different people, your energy becomes like mud. Like it becomes, I don't want to say dirty because that feels kind of like too judgy, but like more than anything, it becomes you can say I guess unhealthy. It becomes destabilized because you have all these different energies that are now, mixed in with yours. So there's like no stability. There's no stability in your energy. It's just all over the place. And all of these people, everybody is carrying their demons and their garbage, right? Like they're not their garbage, their luggage. So when you have sex with people, it's not just sex. It's like you're taking in all the good and all the bad that that person may have. Which, if it's a person that you love, that you really love, well, hey, you're going to write it out, right? But if you're just having casual sex with people all the time, that's not really beneficial to your spirit, to your spiritual well-being because again, you're you're not really sure of who this person is or what they might be carrying within themselves. So when these celebrities are like continuously giving these messages to the youth, they're not really giving them a good example, right? It's not really a good example. Like if you really think about it, it's not really a good example. So a person that goes around not giving a good example cannot possibly be a person of God, like a real God, like righteousness. Maybe they're a god of Satan because they're not making us, they're giving us a message that sex is not really sacred. Like sex is just whatever. You can just have it, have fun, you know? Yeah, you can have fun, like I'm not trying to be like super like how do you call that, like traditional or like um conservative, right? I'm not trying to be that. It's just that our body, it really has energy. We are all made of energy. So when we go and have sex with people that we barely even know, it's not really healthy. It really is not. It's not healthy. We're mudding like mud. We're mudding up our spirit with all these different energies. And again, you don't know what people's energies might have, what they're bringing to the table if you're just having casual sex. So it's something to be very careful about, and that these celebrities are like pushing these kind of like thoughts that it's whatever, that you can go have it and with whoever and like and they mask it by saying that it's now we're free. Like it's like it's seen like an expression of freedom. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can see it that way if you don't have any like standards. We should always have standards in our life. Otherwise, like standards is like it's like a metric, right? Like it keeps us in check. There has to be like we had to have standards, and we had to have some kind of like boundaries, because otherwise if we just think everything's free for all, like it life becomes chaos. Life becomes chaos. So we really need to keep that in mind, because alongside with all of that, it comes responsibility. We need to be responsible of the things that we do and the consequences that these things may have. So the thing about being responsible is that you want to be proactive, right? Not reactive. That's why responsibility is so important, because responsibility makes you think about the effects that something may bring. Like be proactive. It makes you think before you act. That's being responsible. Being reckless and not thinking, that's being like reactive. And that's when things can really go downhill, because we're not really ready. Things that are like unexpected can happen, which of course unexpected things happen all the time. But I mean, if you're trying to have a good life, you should definitely have some kind of standards, some kind of guidance in your life, values, um, and things like that. But when we see these people, like, back to the conversation, right? Like, oh, I'm Christian, but you're listening to fucking shooting guns and like shoot that person, kill that person, and like all these things in music, right? So it's like, how are you claiming to be a child of God, but you continuously listen to these lyrics and you're continuously kind of like indulging in it in their message? And again, the mind is like a machine, like a computer. Whatever whatever program you give the computer, that's what it's going to execute. So if you're just giving it booty, 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 it's gonna execute booty, booty, booty. Like whether we want to like really admit it or not, our mind is a machine. So people say, "Oh, mind is stronger." Yeah, your mind is strong. Of course it is, but the body has its limits. The body has its biological structure. We cannot override that, right? It's like the podcast that I was doing about marijuana. Like, yeah, you can smoke and you can be like, I can control it, but at the end of the day, Your body has its processes, and if you put too much in it, it's going to have an effect that's unbalanced, unhealthy. So we just need to be really be careful as to, what we're listening to, or what we are believing, that we are believing these people. Oh, but like, it kind of becomes like a like tricky situation, because oh, they're people of God though. She's saying thank you to God. Oh, she says she wouldn't be here without God. Yeah, but what God? Which God is she talking about? Because the God that I know that talks about sex like that, and it's like fucking promiscuous like that, that's el diablo. That's fucking Satan. You know what I'm saying? That's not God. Like God, like fucking the Great Spirit God. Some people call it Jesus, Buddha. That's not God. God, oneness. God is not God is not something, or a spirit that will give us thoughts, promiscuous thoughts, because promiscuity is really about not having control over your body. If you really think about it, it's like you have no control over your body. You can't stop having sex. You just can't. You gotta have it. You gotta have it. It's like, dude, control yourself. Control only comes when you have mastered your mind and mindfulness, and that comes with righteousness and keeping the right messages around, and feeding your mind the proper messages that will make you strong enough to not fall prey or victim into these narratives of being a promiscuous person, a person that goes out and kills, a person that goes out and slings drugs, a person that goes out and robs. I think I said steal, robs or kills. All the stuff that's not good for life, right? All that stuff. And a lot of the music, it says those things. It says those things, whether we want to admit it or not. Come on, like, listen to what the lyrics are saying. They're not good messages. So what makes you think that these people are really doing the work of God? They're not doing the work of God. God would never want us to sing about booties and guns and killing and drugs and lean. That's not what God would do. Like, come on, use your common sense. That's not a message of God. They're like fake children of God. They're not real. They're not the real deal. They're not the real deal. That's being like a fake religious person, like a fake Christian, a fake spiritual person. It's pretty much like being an imposter, right? The antichrist, I guess you can, if you want to make it to the extreme, right? They're acting like they kind of are, but they're not really. They're kind of like blinding you. They're kind of like keeping you in the middle guessing. But love doesn't make you guess. Love is clear in its message, and it shows it with action, with loving actions. These actions that are projected through their music are actions of destruction, actions of addiction, addiction to sex, porn, killing, all this stuff. So make sure that we need to make sure that we're looking at the action that these people are doing actually, than just listening to what they're saying. Because anybody can say anything. Anybody can say whatever, anything in the world. But it's really their actions that shows the things. Actions are what shows us who that person is. Only the actions. Words don't matter. A smile doesn't matter. Being nice doesn't matter. Even serial killers can be nice. It's their actions. Their actions tell you everything. And we need to keep our eyes open again, and not label these people as people of spirit, people of faith of God, because they're not. They're not doing the work of God. That is not the work of God. God will never put you at the top with this kind of message. Maybe a different kind of, yeah, maybe the other kind of God would, the Satan kind of God. because that's what he likes. That's what he praises, right? That's what his message is. So according to his standards, hell yeah, you're a God. I mean, you're a child of him. You're doing his work. You deserve to be up there because you're doing his work. You're one of his biggest warriors if you're putting all these messages out there. You know? You're on his top line of soldiers. I'm a real child of God. So my line is it's my the work that I want to put out there is has nothing to do with anything that will make my listeners go down a dark path. I will never do that. That's just low. Like if I'm gonna do something for people, it's gonna be something that helps them, that uplifts them, that makes them smarter, that makes them think, that makes them be better people, to elevate, to evolve, not just with money, because money is not everything. Money doesn't make you happy. Even the rich people know that. So it can give you maybe moment, like for a moment you might feel happy, but at the end of the day, what matters is that you have peace of mind, everlasting peace of mind, not just little snippets here and there. Because that just means you're constantly up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And of course, that's normal when you're still young, right? When you're still learning and you're putting these processes together. But when you're older, you're older, you should already be thinking about being a good example if you're a child of God, of the real God, right? The good, the force of good. Otherwise, you're working for the force of bad, whether they want to admit it or not. They're not doing anything that's good and uplifting for people. They're bringing them down the dark path. And that's not a work of God. Thank you so much for tuning in to TC the G Radio. I hope you enjoyed this episode. What are your thoughts on today's topic of conversation, spirituality? Let me know. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. Remember to tune in to TC the G Radio every Thursday at 11:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also, connect with me on social media to get more of me and my music. I will leave all of my social media and contact info in the video's description. Again, thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in and for allowing me to share this time with you. Take care. Saludos.